You've seen me cover the easy button for continuum subtraction. Now let's look at the easiest button of them all, a fully automatic continuum subtraction utility script I developed. Welcome to SETI Astro. If you were doing continuum subtraction manually, you'd have to have channel combination, some background neutralization, do some color calibrating, pixel math, and this was the easy way of doing it without getting into filter bandpass ratios, exposure timing ratios, and all that. And then Jurgen came out with his script, which is great because then you can go in and load in your images, and it would go ahead and simplify some of those tasks. You still had a slider here to try to get the subtraction just right, but it was a big step up. Now we have one more step up on the easy rung, and that's my continuum subtraction utility. This is a fully automatic continuum subtraction script. You could either have starry images or starless, and then you could load up as many or as few images as you want. And with previous methods, you'd had to do them all one at a time. Even with Jurgen's in the Toolbox, you do one and then you gotta go and make the others. So it allows you to load in your hydrogen, oxygen, sulfur, any of those three, or all of them. And then on the continuum group, you could have your red and green mono channels in here, or if you just have a singular RGB from like a one-shot color, you could put that in there as well. With continuum subtraction, your data needs to be linear, the gradients need to be removed, stacking artifacts need to be cropped out, and if you are using starred images, it is best to run Blur Exterminator first if you do have Blur Exterminator. The other thing I want to mention, and I put a tooltip in here, is that for smaller galaxies that don't take up the whole frame, you're going to want to keep the stars in that image. Here's a great example why you want to keep your stars in your images. Here's M51. It's small in this focal length here. And if you go ahead and remove the stars, we'll do it on the left hydrogen channel here first. You'll notice it removes a lot of structure from the galaxy. Galaxies at that distance, a lot of nebula and structure look point-like, so they look like stars, and Star Exterminator and StarNet remove them. And then same with the Continuum channel. It does remove some structures, but more importantly, it doesn't remove nearly as much from the core as it did on the hydrogen channel. So if you did utilize the starless versions for continuum subtraction, the subtraction won't be correct in this method, since you actually removed signal out of both those images. So when the subtraction happens, you're going to have less than ideal results. So for smaller galaxies in your frame, so pretty much anything besides Andromeda or Triangulum, or if you're working with longer focal lengths, some of these larger ones, you're going to want to leave those stars in there, because Star Exterminator literally takes stuff out of your galaxies that you're going to want in for the subtraction. Now in my examples, I'm gonna go through 3 different examples utilizing the tool, just to show it and kind of talk through some of the options. I have the Triangulum galaxy here. It is a larger galaxy, so we can use the starry versions, the ones with the stars. So I do have a hydrogen channel, I do have an oxygen channel, and then I do have a color RGB Triangulum singular image, so we'll go ahead and utilize that. And then all you do is tell it to execute. It's going to go ahead and create 2 new images in this case, one for hydrogen and one for oxygen. It goes ahead and finds the background and does background neutralization, and then it's going to do color calibration based on the continuum of the stars, and then it goes through and does linear stretches and it does a nonlinear stretch utilizing the same algorithm as my statistical stretch, and then finally does a median, subtraction, and normalization to leave the pure signal. So in this case, here is the pure hydrogen signal left in Triangulum and the pure oxygen signal that is left. Now the Triangulum is big enough. I do have images where the stars are removed as well. So here's hydrogen, oxygen, and my color Starless. Again, these are all linear. So let's go ahead and run it on the Starless Triangulum images. We have hydrogen Starless, my oxygen Starless, and and my color Starless. Tell it to execute. This time it's gonna go through a lot of the similar steps, make a hydrogen and an oxygen, find backgrounds, do background neutralization. But in order to do color balance this time, it has to find the core of the galaxy. So it's going to use a different method, gradient ascent, to find the bright core of the galaxy in a bigger preview area to do the white balance portion of it. And you'll notice the gradient ascent does take longer than gradient descent. You could think of it as it's just harder to climb uphill sometimes. And then once it's color calibrated, it's going to go ahead and do that statistical stretch again and subtract off the median values. And once again, we're left with just two images of the hydrogen pure signal again and the oxygen pure signal. Next, we'll go ahead and run it on my Cigar and Bode galaxies. Now these are smaller. Definitely going to want to keep the stars in these images. We'll go ahead and load them in the script. This time I just have mono channels for red and green versus a singular color in there. And we'll tell it to execute. Again, it's going to go ahead and make our two different images for us. Find the backgrounds, do the background neutralization, color calibration, the actual subtraction, the nonlinear stretches, and then the median subtraction. And now we're left with our pure hydrogen signal coming from hydrogen. There's the Cigar and Bode's net or galaxy. And then for oxygen, oxygen is a much weaker signal in these two images. But there are dots of oxygen in Bode's and then in the core itself of Cigar. Our last example here is the whirlpool that I showed you why you want to keep your stars in. These images where the galaxy is fairly small in the field of view. So we'll go ahead and run the script on these and tell it to execute. It's going to go ahead and make our hydrogen image there, go through all the various calibrating, subtracting, stretching, and there we go. There is our continuum subtracted hydrogen data. The other thing I do want to say is this is a non-linear image when it's done, right? It did statistical stretch, it stretched it up, and then it removed the background median. So it is a base stretch already done for you. You can brighten it up prior to doing your own screening. I would also recommend running Noise Exterminator at this stage, or Graxpert denoise if you don't have Noise Exterminator. This is the perfect time to do it. You don't want to run any noise reduction prior to your subtraction. You want the raw signals to be subtracted during the process. When you install it as a feature script or through the repository, it will be under Scripts, SETI Astro, and then Continuum Subtraction Utility. I hope everybody finds good use for Continuum Subtraction Utility, and it makes the process a whole lot easier. If you have any feedback on the script, suggestions, or comments for it, please email me as we continue to try to make all my scripts better. Please comment, like, and subscribe.